Hello and welcome to this episode of Paula's Run Club with me, Paula Radcliffe.
And me, Christopher Thompson.
And this week it is a look forward to this weekend's European Cross Country Championships. Lots of fond memories between us, and we have an interview with Inis FitzGerald coming up. Fascinating listen ahead of her attempt to win an unprecedented 3 titles. A very warm welcome back to Paula's Run Club for Innes FitzGerald. Innes, you joined us last time with Professor Andy Jones, and this time you of course merit your own. You're now a double European junior champion on the track, and this coming weekend you will be going for your 3rd under 20 European cross country title. And so welcome to the podcast and thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, looking forward to having a chat, and I guess lots of exciting things coming up this winter and next year. So yeah, lots to look forward to.
Yes, welcome. Oh, sorry, I was going to say, just welcome from my point of view, Innis. It's great to have you on, especially we've had you requested a number of times as well, which is great.
And I think the reason for those requests is even though you are only a junior, it does feel like you've been successful and racing and at the forefront for quite a while. And I know a lot of people are very impressed with the way that you take the races by the scruff of the neck, go out hard. I remember you, I think in your first outing at the European cross country, and you were probably only about 16 then, were you, in Italy? And you really went out very, very hard, attacked the race and very nearly pulled it off, and then came back to continue doing that. So I think that's a style that endears you to lots of people. And as we were chatting a little bit before we started the recording, Tomo was saying that is a cross-country strength, which comes to the fore on the track as well, but certainly I believe it will do later in the marathon.
Yeah, I think cross country is one of those events that you've just got to have that grit and that drive to just want to get the most out of yourself. And I guess that's kind of how I started racing. I was always like, go out hard, just leave everything out there until I was like, had nothing left. To my detriment, I guess, at the first Europeans, but it was learning experience. And I think that doing that and making that mistake was probably quite important. Coming fourth was never a position I wanted to be in. Like going into the race thinking that I could have won it, and looking back, I probably could have won it if I'd run sensibly. But I think it was important to have that experience, and that's what's made those the most recent wins like that much more kind of valuable.
Mm-hmm. Can I just rewind the clock a bit with you, Innis? Because again, for everyone listening and those that know you and love you are fully embedded, but like everyone, you're still very much in the early part of your career, and it's not that long ago when you finished 176th in the English schools in, I forget the I'm going to bug myself of where it was. You'll have to tell us where it was.
It was in Liverpool.
In Liverpool. Oh, that's at Sefton Park. That's right.
So what age were you then?
I was going to say, what was that like, finishing 176th and all those crowds and those early experiences of cross country? Because obviously now you're at the front, but what was that? For me, that was quite an overwhelming experience, being in that crowd of runners. But what was that experience like?
Yeah, I think I went there I didn't do any training, and I made it. I made the Devon team, and then I went to like the Southwest schools, and I was like, oh, this is cool. And there was like lots of people there. And then I was like in the top 8 out of everyone in Devon or something. So that meant I got to go to English schools. So I only just made the English schools team, really. I was probably like 8 out of 10 people that went. And I didn't have any expectations of myself. And I think I'd never been to an event like that before. So I didn't really know what I was in for. I think I kind of took it as like a bit more of a team kind of thing, because there was people from Devon going who I kind of knew, and we were like staying in a hotel the night before. So I didn't really know what I was going into. I didn't really know how many people were going to be there. It was all kind of like ignorant, I guess. And it was just a fun experience. I didn't care. There was no pressure. It was just like I literally didn't train at all. So it was like just cool to be there, I guess. And it wasn't until kind of like I went back and then was second that I was kind of like, I then kind of knew what to expect. And also, I almost think that going there having like not had any idea what the event was, kind of thing, and then going back was probably quite a good thing, because then when I was, then it was in Kent and I was second, I kind of knew what I was in for, and it was like, I guess, less pressure, but I don't know.
I mean, did you enjoy that first outing? Because I think that's probably, is it fair to say that's the tipping point? So from there, you then joined a club and started a proper training setup, and then quickly saw the results of that next year.
Yeah, I guess that was kind of the beginning of it. I then realised what opportunities there were out there, and I guess having got to the English schools and not done any training, I knew that I must have had some kind of, I guess, talent or genetics, something that's like, because not everyone can do that. So it was quite, I guess, inspiring to see. And the other girls on the Devon team, one of my friends, Scarlett now, who we didn't really know each other at the time, but she was like expected to be in the top 10. I think, yeah, she ended up finishing like 8th or something, which was amazing. But like, I guess having the experience of just watching her and seeing how she kind of prepared herself for this big event that I didn't really know what I was in for at all.
Because that was in 2020, wasn't it? Ironically, just before the pandemic, from the dates I could see.
Yeah, it was just before the pandemic, because I remember people were like, "Oh, is it going to be cancelled? Is it going to go ahead?" And then it went ahead, and then I guess during COVID, that was when I kind of started doing a bit more training myself. And I think I just have that personality, whereas like when I get into something, I get into it, and it's like that's all I want to do, kind of thing. Not necessarily in a bad way, but like um I think I just got into running and I was like really enjoying it, and I didn't really know, like during lockdown, I didn't actually know how good I was at all, because I'd never, like my family aren't into running. Like I didn't know what a good like 5K time was at all, because I'd never bothered to like, I could have just looked it up, I guess, but I was just like going out there and running because I like enjoyed it, and it was like, oh, like how fast can I do this little 5K loop around my house? And it was just, I just go out and do that like 5 times a week or something, which probably looking back
Wow.
was quite a bit of training considering I hadn't done any running before. But I guess that's the um that's just what I'm like. I want to do something. I was like, well, I can get better at this, so I'll just keep doing it. And then it wasn't until I met Gav and Jo after COVID that like proper training kind of started, and I wasn't doing just like flat out runs every day. It was more like, right, how can we structure this to make it a bit more efficient and get better at like the things I'm not so good at, like speed and stuff like that.
So that was one of the questions I was going to ask you. So that is, of course, Jo and Gavin Pavey. Jo Pavey, in contrast, I would say actually started very, very young. I can remember Jo setting English schools records as a 13-year-old, as Joanne Davis, and then came back, kind of took time away from the sport and came back to make Great Britain teams over 1,500 metres in 1997, and then, of course, stepped up to huge successes over 5,000 and 10,000 metres. And I think having them as a team helping you, I'm sure that's helped you in more ways than just a coach, because Jo has kind of been to those big races. Has she helped you with the mindset as well?
Yeah, I think that's something that's invaluable about their kind of coaching setup, is that Gav obviously coached Jo the whole way through her career, and then Jo's got that actual experience of being there on the start line and the actual feeling of being in the race. Like, it's easy for coaches and people to be like, oh, just do this, but unless you've actually been there and done it, it's quite hard to like visualize and give the right advice. So I think that's what's so great about having Jo to chat to, especially like before big championships, when it's like managing the nerves and also, I guess, the expectation and the pressure and just everything put together, and being in that kind of competition environment as well. I think that's what's so important, and yeah, what I've really got out of having that, the setup I've got. Yeah, because I guess Joe's not so much involved in the coaching specifics, like setting the sessions and stuff. That's more what Gav does. But I guess the mentoring side of things is where Joe comes in, and yeah, it's really important, I think.
And what about the cross? Sorry, Tomo. I was just going to ask, what about the cross country? Because Joe probably didn't do a huge amount on. She wasn't as successful as you are on the cross country. She was much more track. I mean, now actually she's runs a lot on trails, but in the beginning of her career, she was quite injury prone if she went onto the uneven ground. So she would stay off it and stay more on the track.
Yeah, she always laughs about it and says that I'm crazy, especially when we're at grass sessions and stuff. She's like, I just don't know how you're running on the grass. And I guess it's just different. Like, I think different, I guess people's body compositions and things like that, like, affect how efficient they are at running over different terrain. I quite enjoy running on the mud, in the mud, I guess. In the summer, I'm always like, oh, I dread going back to grass sessions when it's like cold and wet and frosty. But then when it comes to it, I actually really enjoy it. And when you have a good group of people around you, it's kind of comes a bit of a laugh, especially if it's like a bit wet. You're like, why are we doing this? But it's like good fun. But yeah, Joe's always saying like, oh, I was never good at cross country. I don't know how you're good at cross country. But I think it's just differences in people. And yeah, she was an amazing track runner, so it didn't matter anyway.
No, you're right. But I mean, you're an amazing track runner as well. But what do you think, Thomas? Do you think it's technique? I mean, we have a lot of people, don't we? In fact, we've got a couple of questions this week writing in just saying, how do I race well on the uneven ground, particularly on mud? Do you change your technique, or do you think it's just, I mean, because I personally didn't change mine. I think I was fairly suited to it.
Yeah, I think it just comes naturally. I think, yeah, I haven't had to change things. I never consciously thought about that. And I think if I did, I'd probably like then get in my head and then start running in a funny way or something. So I think it's just, yeah, it's just I'm lucky to naturally be able to run over uneven terrain pretty well.
If we talk about how much you raced this summer, that also puts into context because you had to choose for your primary focus, and your primary focus was clearly the European Junior Championships. And then was it a case of really just hanging on and enjoying the rest of the season? Because by the time you got to Tokyo in September, it was a long season of racing.
Yeah, I think at the beginning of the summer, everyone was getting into track racing, and I was like, it feels so early. Like, why is everyone racing now? And I think I'm quite grateful I didn't start my season until kind of end of May, which even then could be seen as a bit early. But we were kind of thinking European Juniors, that's the main aim. We want to go to that because it's an age group champs, and ultimately it's just really good experience. So that was kind of the aim. And then I got into the London Diamond League, and we were like, well, let's take a shot at this world's time. It's probably Gav thought, well, he thought it was in there, and I was like, okay, if you say so.
Which is 14:50
so,
for 5K, isn't it? Was the standard?
Yeah, but just tell us what you ran there.
Yeah.
Inis.
So then I ran 14:39, which
Incredible.
shocked myself, to be honest. I think Gav was like, yeah, I knew it was there, but I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, I don't quite believe him until it happens. So then kind of Tokyo came off the back of that, and it was an amazing experience, obviously, and it was incredible to have gone, but because of the way the season went, I felt like I kind of peaked around Europeans and that Diamond League. So by the time it got to September, I think I was kind of feeling quite tired on my way out, but it was incredible and I really enjoyed it.
And how were the conditions there? Because we saw how difficult they were particularly for the endurance athletes in Tokyo. It was very, 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 very different to conditions that you raced in for those European Junior Championships. So how did you cope with those?
Yeah, it was very hot and humid. And I think being from the UK where it's like warm a little bit, but it's not like 35 degrees every day. So it's like completely different environment. We did a bit of heat training here in Exeter before I went out, but ultimately I needed some probably to like be more conditioned to that kind of thing. Doing a few weeks worth of hot runs is not gonna like switch it and make it that much easier. But I think it just shows the importance of doing that kind of heat training and stuff before champs like that, because the conditions played a big part in people's performances, I think. So like going forward, it's definitely something that we're going to want to focus on a bit more, and be more prepared for the conditions that, yeah, where the champs are.
But how is and again, I think we've jumped a couple of years with you, but how is it? Because I was both at the not Paul was at Tokyo. I was at the London Olympic Stadium when you ran there, and I watched, and I was also in Tempera when you won the European Juniors. But how has it been racing in those, like in the Olympic Stadium, basically? How was that as an experience? Because ultimately, like you say, you've kind of your main aim was the juniors, but to be able to do these things without the pressure and just to absorb your future, but obviously do more than just that is make the team and run really well. But how has that been being in those environments?
Yeah, I think I'd like listened to people talk about the London Diamond League before, and obviously I'd watched Diamond Leagues on the like on the internet and the live streams and stuff, but I'd never actually kind of been in the stadium. And everyone was like, "Oh, London's incredible, like it's crazy," but you just don't know until you get out there. And I was kind of like on the warm-up track, and you can kind of hear the stadium a little bit, but you're kind of in your element, listening to your music or whatever, just doing your routine. And then we kind of got out, and the 800 meters was going on, and like we kind of I saw them come round past 200 into the home straight, and the crowd just went mental. And I was like, I don't think I've ever been in somewhere this loud before. But as much as someone can say that to you, like you just don't know until you're there. And I was like, okay, this is crazy. But in the race, it's really funny, because in the race you're so focused on what's going on and like how you're doing and looking at the lap times or whatever, doing the maths in your head, whatever you're thinking about, you don't actually care about the crowd. You don't actually listen to them. You don't really realize they're there. It's not until like after or before that you kind of can soak up that atmosphere, I guess. And then when I kind of warmed down and then went back into the stadium to watch the men's 1500 and find my family, I was like, this is incredible. Like I would come to watch this any day. No wonder there's so many people here. Like it's just a testament to like how good athletics actually is. And yeah, being in that stadium was just incredible, and actually I'm so grateful to have the experience to actually race in it as well.
Hmm.
And just talk us through the race a little bit itself. So you've gone into, I mean, you first of all, let's underline that you went to the European Junior Championships in Tampere, and you beat the 3,000 meter record from Gabriela Szabo that had stood, I'm going to probably get this wrong, I think it was since 1994. So had run phenomenally quickly there on your own, but you were front running. So you were doing what you're naturally used to doing on the cross country. It's very different to then go into that Diamond League race, where you know the pace is going out super fast. I'm sure Gav gave you advice going into the race about how to run to splits, but was that something that was difficult to do, to kind of change that mindset of just going out at the front?
I think because I knew I was in an environment where all the athletes were so much better than me, or that's what I felt like anyway, it was kind of like, let's just get on the back and see what we can do. And I think when there's like no pressure on me like that, that's when I perform best. And I think that's why I came away from the race having got a time that I was, yeah, so pleased with, because I was just relaxed, and I could see the white lights, which I knew were the world's time. And I was like, let's just stay a bit back from that. It doesn't matter if I'm on the back of this group, because we're talking about a second here. The lights are just 10 meters ahead. It's fine. And I was like, let's just watch the lights and stay relaxed, sit on the back of these guys and just run efficiently and get towed round. And yeah, that's what I did for the first, I don't even know, I guess up until about 2K to go. And then it was kind of like, I guess my turn to lead a bit. I thought the pace was slowing a bit and I was feeling good. So then I went round, led a couple laps, and then someone else came round me. And it was actually quite nice, because it felt like we were kind of working together as much as obviously we were racing each other. I guess I wasn't really bothered if, yeah, I wasn't really bothered if the other girls kind of beat me, because I was just wanting to get a good time. And then, yeah, I think we kind of got ahead of the white lights, and I was like, oh, they're just behind me. And at this point, I was like, it doesn't matter what the clock says because we're ahead of the lights, so it must be fine. So I just didn't look at the clock at all. And then I kind of finished, and I was like, wait, what? I didn't realize we were that far ahead of the white lights. So it was kind of, yeah, a nice surprise, but also a bit of a shock. And I was kind of like, I think it took me a few days, I guess, to process. And it wasn't until getting that British champs, after British champs, and then getting the world selection that I was kind of like, I've actually done that. I'm actually going to the worlds, which is pretty mental, but.
But just to put into context, I mean, the year before, you were fourth at the World Juniors in 24. And I also wanted to highlight as well, you're actually on a very rich list of history on the London Marathon Mini, a winner of London Marathon Mini. So I think, and that's what I think is quite romantic about your story, is you've got this lovely rise, you've got this very well-known coach or pair with Gavin and Jo, but it's such a thoughtful, even the way you're talking about how you approach these things. For a lot of juniors, it's quite, I remember being very overwhelmed, and I'm not an example to follow, but the way you talk is very mature and great. And I feel like it's really great for the young, especially the younger athletes getting into this, to listen to, because I think you come across not just performing really well, but you talk very eloquently about these things and how you're surrounded. So another person that I think we should touch upon in this conversation that's part of your team was someone who was on our pod previously, and you were actually in the background when we did the recording, was Andy Jones, a physiologist. So I just wanted to, and Andy predicted the greatness that Paula would go on to be. So I just wonder, without giving too much away, how's that been, and is Andy setting you up to be a marathoner one day, or are you guys very much kind of keeping things under the lid?
Well, perhaps at that point, Tom, it's a good point for if Innes can just drop the camera down to show. So she's in the greenhouse. We need to clarify that because she gets a better signal there. But in the background, you actually have the beetroot growing, right?
It was just a bit of a coincidence. Paula was like, what have you got growing there? And I was like, oh, well, it's actually beetroot, which is quite funny. But
the link being,
that's not me, that's my dad.
The link being that Andy actually was involved in a lot of the studies. You may not know this, Innes, but Andy was involved in a lot of the studies. When was it, Tom? Early 2000, between the teens?
I think it was in the noughties somewhere, something like that. Yeah, the beetroot nitrates.
So the impact on running endurance of eating more beetroot.
Yes.
That's why
a lot of athletes ate a lot of beetroot in that study, I'm sure.
He does a lot of other good things as well. But I think, if you could explain a little bit about how Andy's helped you with that advice, because if I'm right, you said you're now training 6 days a week. That's in single sessions, is it?
Yeah. So, I guess Andy's so busy and away from Exeter a lot of the time, but when he's back, it's good to catch up with him, especially on the physiology side of running and training, and having that kind of team of professionals, I guess, with like Gav and the physiologist and strength and conditioning, all the different people that kind of work together. We always kind of meet up and have chats and communicate, and I think having him there is amazing because of the breadth of knowledge that he's got, and we kind of tend to do physiological tests, I guess, about once a year, and it's nice for him to then make some wacky predictions about what I'm going to do, and Gav trying to say don't get ahead of yourself, but I think ultimately he thinks that I'll probably be a marathon runner, like with time, but at the moment it's just about focusing on the shorter distances, working on my speed and things like that, and with time and more training and higher mileage, I guess the marathon will evolve into itself. I think at the moment the thought of running for that long is kind of quite scary, but I'm sure it will feel like the right time when it comes around, and I do look forward to it. And I've always said to myself before I was a runner that I would do London Marathon one day, so I will be there. How good, I'm not sure, but it
I
will
think
happen.
it will be great, but you don't need to rush it just yet. And I think you're right. Keep the, as Tomo was saying before, keep the mindset that you have, because having fun with it, enjoying what you're doing, and as you're so cleverly doing with the team around you, keeping somewhere to progress each year, so a little bit more to keep adding, will absolutely keep you going in the right direction. And don't say they're too wacky for Andy's predictions, because pretty much every one of mine was fairly accurate in the end. It might take you a little bit of time to work towards it, but I think you can have faith that they are. You don't have to. I'm not going to ask you to share them, because I think they are important. That you keep those for you. But I was just going to say, have a little bit of faith in them. And then one area that I did really want to get from you is, because you're now at Exeter University, you're studying actually same domain as Andy probably sometimes teaches in when he's actually there. But how have you managed to combine your training with your studies? Because it's not the easiest, is it, Tomo, to combine uni with training at the top level?
Yeah, I think it's been difficult, and it's been kind of a process that's evolved, and I'm kind of learning different ways about how to kind of balance the two. But I've got into a bit of a routine now, and I actually quite enjoy having the studies there. It's something to entertain me while I'm kind of should be resting, like after sessions and stuff. It helps me just like sit down and not go out and do something else on my feet. So I think it's actually helped me kind of rest and fill my time with learning about sport and exercise science, which I'm really interested in. So I've really enjoyed that, and I've always been, I guess, quite an academic person anyway. So it's kind of, yeah, helped me learn and discover new things and keep me busy. And I think there's always times where I've got lots of lectures and I need to go to training, or I've got competitions and I'm missing stuff, and it's just about balancing everything and not being like kind of worried if one thing slips every now and again. Like, yeah, if a session's not too good because I've had exams, you just accept it and move on. Like, it's just one session. Or if I have to miss a lecture because I've got to go to an event, that's just life. And I think having that kind of relaxed approach whilst being dedicated to both things, I think is important. And it's, yeah, so far it's going well. It's a 3-year course, and it's like near Christmas on the second year, so I'm almost halfway through. So hopefully I'll get to the end and finish it and it'll all be fine. But I think it's a good thing to have the kind of challenge of studying and training, because there's always things that, like, training's never gonna go. You've always got to balance something else alongside
Yeah.
training, so it's quite nice to have that, because then in the future when I've got other things that I've got to balance, I know how to do it, kind of thing.
And I was just going to say, talking about balance, next week, well, when this podcast drops, it will be right before the European Cross Country Championships, which will be your last race probably as a junior, because then you transition to senior. This coming year, the World Cross is suddenly in much earlier, so it's in January, and you would then be going in as a senior. Is that something that you plan to take in? That's in Tallahassee, isn't it, in Florida?
Um, we we've had many discussions about it, and I think I do love cross country, and it feels like I should be there, especially after the World Cross last time. I kind of came away feeling like there was more there and that I could have done a bit better. But I think we kind of said we'll decide after the Europeans whether we go ahead with it. It feels quite far away to go for a cross country event, and after the summer we kind of said we want to prioritize the events that are going to be best for my development and best for like gaining experience, but not take anything out of me unnecessarily, kind of thing. And going all the way to Tallahassee is going to be a long trip, and that might mean that I don't end up racing indoors or doing any other kind of racing this winter. So it's like whether I want to, yeah, go ahead and do that and race as a senior, or whether I think I can get more out of doing a bit of an indoor season. So I think it's something we'll decide after the Europeans, but obviously going straight into a senior race on the world stage is quite, I don't know, I guess could be a bit stressful and a bit of a jump. But it would be a good experience, and obviously I'd love to do it if I could, but it's just what's best for kind of future me rather than I guess going to Tallahassee just for fun.
Which is absolutely spot on. But bringing it back to the European cross then, for when, like we said, it will come out. What would it mean to you to kind of finish your junior career with that one last victory under your belt? Because you're at 3 wins on the bounce, am I right?
So 2, I think, and then this will be the third.
This will be the third.
Right, yes. Oh, that's right. You're
if
fourth,
I can
second,
do it.
third, fourth, first. Yes. So what would it mean to you to finish it off like that?
Yeah, I think having a hat trick of wins would definitely be incredible, and I just love the cross country, and I think it's kind of where the sport started for me. So it's so nice to have that success on the European level as well. The coming fourth the first time was a bittersweet kind of experience. So having that and then 3 wins to kind of follow it up would be incredible, and just give me some confidence going into kind of my senior career, I guess, where I guess things aren't necessarily going to be amazing from the get-go because I'm suddenly racing against people who are so much older. So it's quite nice to have like that confidence that I've got like that talent there, and that it won't necessarily come straight away with success on the senior stage, but with time, hopefully it will come, and then maybe I can fight for those European cross titles as a senior. But yeah, it would just be amazing, and I'm really, really looking forward to it. Really, really excited. I mean, I've got to make the team first, but fingers crossed, I'll be out there and hopefully defending that title.
Make sure you eat all that beetroot behind you, and you'll be
Not all of it. Not all of it,
Yeah, not all
Tomo,
of
from
it,
experience.
yeah, not all of it. This has been absolutely awesome,
Yeah.
Innes, and I think what would be great, I'm sure we've got fans of you already listening, and hopefully even more now, so through this, because I think you are going to be a name within athletics for years and decades to come. And I think the journey is only, like you say, what's been really nice is how you're very much focused on the future. And I don't want to ask that question of 5-10 years time. That's for you guys to kind of precious. But I think the only thing for the future aspect would be the Commonwealths and the Europeans next year. Are they on your radar as events to do? Because it would be, ironically, your third senior champs if you include the indoors.
Definitely, it's something I'm really, really looking forward to. I was chatting to my dad earlier this year, and he was kind of saying, "What are you going to do when people like family members and stuff say they're going to come out to watch you race?" Because obviously the environmental side of the sport is quite a big thing. And we were kind of chatting about, is it kind of ethical to have family members fly to come and watch you race when they could just watch you on the telly, kind of thing. And it's obviously like it's completely different watching someone in person than it is in real life. And I kind of said I wouldn't, as weird as it sounds, I'd encourage them not to come, because I care about like the environment and I want to reduce like emissions and things as much as possible. I understand that sometimes I have to fly to things, but other people flying to watch, doesn't quite add up. So then we were chatting, and I was saying how it's so nice how the Europeans and the Commonwealths are both in the UK next year, because it gives an opportunity for my family to come and watch and have them there support, but they don't have to fly halfway across the world to do it. So that's, I think, what's going to make those champs extra special next year, and I'm just really, really looking forward to it. And after London and having that home crowd, I think, if it's anything like that, it's going to be so special, and to have family there and just people I know and friendly faces in a kind of homely environment. Yeah, it's just going to be incredible, and really, really looking forward to it. So fingers crossed to make those teams and have some fun runs out.
Which events are you thinking you might go for? Would it stay in the 5,000?
Yeah, I think 5,000. The idea of running a 10 at the moment, I think, is just a bit too much for training and stuff. We're not quite there. And yeah, I think I've got lots more to give over the 5, and I guess I'll probably do a few more 15s than I did last year, but at the champs, I will just be focusing on the 5 as well.
Excellent. I mean, I think that mindset is so good. And I guess I know we've kept you a long time. The final point that I would make to you is the way you've just spoken there about the importance of the environment, but putting that into this perspective of recognizing that, yes, to do what the sport deserves to see from you, you need to get on planes and you need to travel, but you're trying to do what you can around that. Well, still obviously making sure that you can get to the championships to perform. And I think that's such a great inspiration and a model for perhaps others to follow. What would be your advice to a young, let's say a young under 15 going into the under 17s who would like to one day be where you are? What would be your biggest piece of advice you could give to them?
I just say to take things day by day. I think don't get ahead of yourself. Don't put too much kind of expectation or pressure, and just be better than you were yesterday. That's what I like to always say. Like just be a bit better than you were last week, and just take things steadily, because I think if you get ahead of yourself or set too big a goals or put too much pressure, it can then become quite overwhelming. So yeah, just do what you can and just enjoy it and enjoy the process, because the outcome ends up happening, and then you get kind of that moment after, and you're like, oh, is that it? So it's just about enjoying the process and not building kind of the end goal up to be something that it's not, because when you then achieve it, you're then like, oh, that's it. So yeah, just enjoy the process and enjoy just getting out there and working hard, because ultimately all that hard work will pay off eventually, whether it takes 5 years, 10 years, or it comes tomorrow. It will pay off eventually.
That is such great advice, and make sure that you keep following that, keep doing what you're doing, and keep having fun out there, because we love watching you. Very, very best of luck to you and the rest of the team who will be out there in Lagos in Portugal this coming weekend at those European Cross Country Championships. Thank
you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Inis. Get warm.
Get
out of that greenhouse and get warm. Thank you so much,
Inis. In the greenhouse.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, by the powers of magic from this podcast episode, I'm now at Liverpool, and our lovely guest Inis FitzGerald, who we spoke before the Liverpool trials, you've now done it, and we're going to insert this into pre-Europeans. How'd you get on today?
Yeah, good fun. Always loved the Liverpool course, so it was nice to come away with the win and have a bit of fun over the mud. Oh, I don't know.
She's lost count. But you sealed your fate in the team. How did it feel out there? How was it? How was the event?
Such good fun. I love this course. I'm always nervous coming to Liverpool every year because it's a big event, European trials, but I always come away thinking that was just so much fun, and it's nice to get a bit of a confidence boost ahead of those European champs in a few weeks.
No, exactly. So have you thought about 3 weeks' time? I mean, your illustrious coach Gav Pavey is holding the camera, and you've given him instructions to do it. Was it landscape or portrait? Is that? I don't even know. You know a bit more than I. But have you thought about 3 weeks' time? I know this would go out a week before, or are you now going to go away and kind of discuss?
Yeah, I think I hope Gav's got a plan, but usually I'm just thinking about what's happening tomorrow or just the next race. Don't really think much beyond that, and I just rely on Gav to put everything together, and I just do what I'm told. But yeah, hopefully just keep training, building towards those European champs, and hopefully go there with some good level of fitness.
So what is tomorrow then?
Oh.
Or should we ask Gav? What's tomorrow, Gav?
Sunday.
Sunday. No. It's in the training.
Well,
long run,
depending on how I feel. Won't push anything, because obviously I raced today, but just see how the legs are, and hopefully get back into training next week, all being well, and build that fitness.
Awesome. And for those listening, honestly, it's a great episode. Actually, no, we'll probably put this at the end, but hopefully you enjoyed the episode. You were so open and brilliant during it. Thank you so much. And it's really inspiring for the juniors to hear how your relationship with the sport grew, and to think, like I say, it was 2020, 176 in the English schools.
On this course,
we're in the same place. Fast forward 5 years, winning the European trials, off the Europeans as favourite. It was awesome having you on. My only question is, can we have you back on at some point?
Of course, anytime. I think it's really important to share stories and inspire others. So yeah, lovely being on the podcast.
Slightly different not being in the greenhouse anyway.
Yes, Yeah, I mean, better connection here. We can speak face to face,
No,
rather.
exactly. We'll have to get you in a room. Well done, Innis.
Oh,
well done,
so
Gav. Thank you
much.
so much for coming on. Maybe we get you both on next time.
Definitely. Gav loves the podcast.
No, yeah. Have you listened? He shook his head. For those who are listening, he shook his head.
He'll have to
You need
listen.
to listen. But listen, I can say this by the power of the magic. Good luck this weekend, even though it's 3 weeks' time.
Yes.
Have a good one. I'll be there supporting. High fives.
Thank you so
Innis, you're a
much.
legend. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you from Paula as well.
Yes.
We both loved having you on. Thank you.
Amazing.
Thanks,
you.
Gav.
And that was a fascinating listen from Innes. I'm so struck by the fact that she basically just fell into cross-country running, and probably thanks to COVID, we have her as a big talent going into these European cross-country championships. I'm excited to see whether she's going to tip for World Cross or not. What do you think there, Tomo? I do think the fact that it's December to January, it's so close, is perhaps a factor in her decision, as well as the travel over there.
Yeah, I think the travel probably is the big one for her. But yeah, it's so close that, again, the selection will be off after the Europeans, because it's I think it's like the second week or second weekend of January. Yeah, 10th, something like that. Do you know what? Someone like her, she will have already planned it in now. Like, she won't make the decision after European. She'll have always been thinking whether I'm doing both. And to be fair, I didn't actually ask her. I should have done. She kind of, I guess it would come back to whether she's thinking about going indoors or not, because obviously she did last year, and indoors is going to be a part of that question, and also school. But the thing that really impressed me at Liverpool is just not just the way she moves across. I mean, it's muddy, and you can see athletes kind of swaying a bit, but she glides over the mud. She glides through it, and I think part of that is her enjoyment of it, because again, you've got to, if you're smiling up top, your legs will kind of move in a way that kind of correlates to being happy with what's going on. If you're frustrated, like I used to get in my face, I didn't like the uncertainty of the ground, my feet would kind of start moving around, and that would make me even more tense up top, and that would not really help with the counterbalance. But she, honestly, the size of the gap meant you couldn't see second place, and it's not a reflection of, it's a reflection of how good she is more than anything, not the rest of the field. But people by the second lap weren't cheering, they were just going whoa. Honestly, there was just this whoa, like it was like this, she had this aura around her, and it was like, it was clapping, but of utter respect. And when you have a big lead, when people aren't yelling, you've got 30 seconds, you've got 20 seconds, or go on, keep going. It was just whoa. It was just this wow. That it was just followed her around, and she really does have that aura. And when I spoke to her afterwards, she was still so humble and so excited, and it came across, I think, when I spoke to her after Liverpool. She's just such a really lovely girl, and she just loves what she's doing. And Gav and the team are doing such a good job.
Yeah, I mean, on that, I have fond memories of, I obviously came through the juniors. I can remember English schools championships racing against then Joanne Davis. Later, she came back into the sport, and I shared a room with her in 1997 at the World Championships. She was racing the 1500 metres, and I was racing the 5000 metres there. But I mean, I think they are the perfect team to really guide Innes. And I do find it fascinating, because Jo actually hated cross country, and like mud would have really scared the hell out of her. Gav, on the other hand, I've seen him be able to balance on a Swiss ball, like on his knees. He has phenomenal balance. I'm not sure whether he ever transferred that to racing himself over the mud. But to go back to your point, what do you think it is that helps you able to run through the mud? Because I definitely think you touched on something there when you say the more you tense, the harder it becomes. It's a bit like if you run across a slippery floor. Until you realise it's slippery, you're actually doing all right. And then the moment you realise it's slippery, it's suddenly like Bambi on ice, trying to stay up. So tension and mental outlook helps, I think.
Yeah, well, I guess another way of explaining it is, it's like running downhill. The more you tense and fear falling, the more you kind of that tension of hitting the ground, and actually tension is what creates the unstableness around potentially falling. And I saw a really, I don't know if this is I'm going to say this, I don't know if it's going to quite compute. It makes sense in my head, but I saw this quote around a downhill skier, and they're flying down between the trees. And if your mindset is don't hit a tree, all you can see is trees and you're trying to avoid them. If you're focused on the path in the middle and you're not thinking about the trees, you just find the line and you don't fear hitting the tree. And I think the translation into downhill running, I'm saying, or cross country, is if you fear your foot hitting the ground and the unstable nature of what's going to happen, that tension through the body is going to actually exasperate the potential any kind of movement. But if you actually have absolute faith and confidence in putting your foot through the ground, it doesn't matter whether you slip and slide or whatever happens, that absolute confidence in what you're doing is going to translate into better movement through the mud. So I think, and that's something I have to say I lost a lot, and I avoided for cross country because I did so much track and I was so focused on getting faster on the track, I forgot the skills of being cross country. And so a lot of the time people, and I said it, this is my fault, I used to say I'm not good in mud. But that became self-fulfilling prophecy because I was good at it. When I was a kid, I was. And I became not good because it became my identity that I kind of embedded in myself through this uncertainty. And it was nothing to do with anything other than my self-inflicted kind of vision of what I viewed as how I would hit the ground, which was track and running quicker. And that was on me.
And I think it's also embracing it, isn't it? So when you have fun with it, you're excited to get on with it, and you don't see it as a barrier, then it doesn't become a barrier in your head. And that's why we bang on about the footwear, making sure that you have the right spikes, that your spikes are taped on, because you have to have that trust in your footwear. If you lose a shoe on a muddy cross-country course, nobody can run downhill relaxed and just let yourself go and let gravity do all the helping out. You have to be able to have full confidence that that grip is there, and then you can let yourself go. That's why I have huge admiration for trail runners. When I see the likes of someone like Kilian Jornet, and I've seen him run down, I'm not even going to say down a trail, because it was basically down the side of a mountain where there was no trail. And he is just jumping from rock to rock to rock, no fear whatsoever. And that is somewhere that I don't think I could get to now, because certainly as you get older, you have more awareness of what could happen if you twist an ankle or if you put a foot in the wrong place, and that fear starts to weigh in more. And that's why perhaps the juniors is the best place to be in terms of having fun over a cross country course.
Well, I was going to say, and I can say this to you, we're friends, so I can say this to you, but also you and I both are quite battle bruised from over the years. We're quite stiff, shall I say, for lack of a better word. So with this cross country now, I think
a few miles on the clock.
There's a few miles, so I think like if your calf hit the ground, it would go, "What are you doing, Paul?" So we don't mould to the ground like we used to. And again, that's partly mental and partly physical, because I certainly know if I went on, I would just be this wooden kind of plank, just like not. And that's part
as
of
evidence
should do it.
From that, I'm going to do a little bit of a teaser here, which I probably shouldn't, but I got a sneak preview of the filming that they did for when I finished the 6. So the Abbott did some filming around the Marathon Major 6, and the sneak preview included me racing Raf down the cross country hill from the World Cross in 1992. Only I wouldn't even say it was a race, because I suddenly realised that it's a lot harder when you're 51 than when you're 18. And then partway down, I realised that I had a marathon to do in 2 days, and probably wasn't the best thing to be bombing down a cross country thing.
See, those thoughts wouldn't hit into your head 20 years ago. You'd have just done it.
I know, exactly. And Raf's just at the bottom going, "Mum, what's wrong? Why are you taking so long?"
I thought you were a good runner, Mum. Yeah, all right, Raf, chill out.
So yeah, that's a bit to look forward. Doesn't come out till April. Sorry, I've just teased everybody there in advance.
Oh, you meant it? Are you allowed to say that? Or
I don't know.
I don't
know. I'm sure I am. Yeah.
Have you seen the finished edit yet?
I think this was pretty much the finished one. Yeah, that was it. It did just make me laugh because I didn't realise how far behind him I was.
It's amazing how far in advance they record these things, actually. So hang on. So there's going to be a big unveil in April.
Yeah, before London, which we have to remember. Hey, we're coming up to our 3 weeks to go, and we're up to our anniversary. So we will be back again. Yeah, for the pod, of course. Yeah, sorry, Gemma. Yeah,
You wouldn't put up with me like Gemma does, I'll tell you.
No, this is the podcast, Paula's Run Club or Paula's Marathon Run Club anniversary, which will be in January. And we are, well, I'm super excited again to be doing the 16-week build to London and getting back into all of those marathon details. And this time around, Tomo's going to be running one.
Yeah. So, should we get to honours board?
Yeah, we can hit the honours board if you want. If you would like Tomo to run a marathon, the number to text into is +44 7564 747 914. We might give him till next
Should
year
we do a
to do
poll?
that, given that you are
If you
juggling
would
it.
like me to stay at home and just chill out, put my feet up, have a couple of beers, then text in to, what's the number again?
+44 7564 747 914, or you can email into paulasrunclub@momentumbroadcast.co.uk, or indeed on socials. But on that point, seriously, we do need you to keep sending in your nominations for the honours board. It is, of course, sponsored by High Five. Thank you very much to them, and everybody who gets a shout out on the honours board will receive some goodies from High Five to keep them fueled and hydrated all the way through to their best performances and to keep improving their performances. And the only thing you need to do is nominate someone to get on that, to that number that I've just read out. I won't do it again, or to the email address, or on socials, and we will give them a shout out. So for this week, I'm actually going to start off with a running club, because we had some contact from Tadcaster Running Club.
Oh, yes, this is awesome, this.
Yeah.
Go on.
So basically they sent some pictures. We will see if we can get some pictures to slot in if you are watching on YouTube. And it came in from Andrew Sloan, but he talked about how they basically put out a crowdfunding to raise the money bit by bit to get enough to be able to build their track. He shows it going through the stages, and now they are ready to open it, actually just before the London Marathon. So they're going to host an open event on the 11th of April and are targeting the Beat the Curfew. Don't know what that is. Do you know what that is, Tomo?
I don't know. Beat the
Curfew. I'm guessing it's something to do with, because there's no
curfew?
lights on the track. Perhaps they have to run around it before it gets dark.
Oh yeah, maybe
know.
there's a lights off certain time in the area, like Watford track. You have to have the event finished by a certain time for the local residents and noise and light. So
Well, there's no local residents on the picture. It's in the middle of a lot of fields, but actually maybe there are behind. But yeah, it looks an amazing track, nicely sheltered. They've got a nice ready-made hedge there to build it in and give it some shelter. So big shout out to Tadcaster Harriers for the crowdfunding and anyone who donated to that as well. And good luck in your first event coming up.
That really is awesome. I mean, yeah, talk about a community getting together and making it awesome. There's something about, like, I live near Basingstoke track, and that's a community one as well, and it's like it does an extra level of pride when it's everyone, it's inclusive for everyone. Right, this one's a lovely one. It comes in from Lydia, who would like to nominate her husband Charlie for the honours board. When we met 4.5 years ago, he enjoyed trail running but never competitively. I was training for my first marathon, Manchester 2021, and he managed to win me over, amongst other things, by saving me from a 17-mile solo run in the pouring rain that he hadn't meant to do, by grabbing a Snickers bar and hitting the flooded trails with me. Since that time, Charlie has always been by my side, encouraging me and even joining me. He ran Beachy Head Marathon with me. Beachy Head, like that's down Eastbourne way. 2 weeks after Manchester Marathon, and I think I'm right in saying, because I don't know if there's more than one Beachy Head, but there's a Beachy Head certainly down that way. 2 weeks after Manchester Marathon, and in his case, having just recovered from glandular fever. A couple of marathons later, and Charlie again towed the start line with me, this time in Copenhagen. Suddenly, we suspected but didn't know that I was at the time miscarrying pregnancy. Bless. I'm sorry to hear that. Charlie was incredibly at supporting me after and getting me back on my feet and into my trainers. Since then, we've had a beautiful little girl, Isla.
Great name.
What a great name. Who loves running herself. Last Christmas, when she was 6 months old, Charlie asked his parents for a trail running buggy, and he's been getting us all out for family runs, come rain, shine or snow, almost every weekend since. In May 2026, I hope to run Stockholm Marathon, having not run one since Copenhagen. Charlie and our daughter Isla are already helping me with the building my base for our weekly long runs. I'll be focusing on the memories of our family runs, with her beaming from my buggy as her daddy pushes her along as my happy place when things get tough in the marathon. This is such
It's
this
so
is so
good.
awesome. So I'd like to put my husband and all the other supportive dads out there on his boards. Yeah, I'll put myself on there. Yeah.
Oh, that
Thanks
is really kind. Not just to shout out for Charlie,
No.
to all the supportive dads out there. That's really special.
This is such a lot. I mean, yeah. And then P.S. I love listening to podcasts on my solo runs when I'm not with my lovely new running club, Hazelmere Borders AC, or Charlie and Isla. How
Excellent.
she's Hazelmere, so it could be down Eastbourne Way, Beachhead. What a lovely email, and obviously very sorry about your miscarriage, but fantastic that you have a healthy Isla with you, and they're being supportive, and Charlie for being an absolute legend of a support. I think that's a well-deserved honours board, that is.
Absolutely, and good luck. We have to look up. So it's May, is it, Stockholm?
Next
up?
year, yeah, May
next year.
2026. Yeah.
So best of luck for that, Lydia. I feel like we should maybe be sending Lydia some goods as well, but I know that Charlie, being the supportive husband that he is, will share those out there, I am sure. And that is lovely. Thank you so much
And they
for
met
getting
through
in
running as
touch.
well.
Yep.
There
And
you
won
go.
her over by. Did you notice how far the solo run was that won him over, Tomo?
17 miles.
Yeah, just saying.
Oh yeah, good point. Yeah, didn't even. Yeah, well done.
I see that everywhere. Sorry, apologies for that. My kids get really annoyed with me.
You're ever the romantic with the number 17. Yes.
Final shout out for the honours board this week actually goes to a group of people. It is the Sammy Joe Brandon Foundation, who get a shout out in addition to the honours board for raising over £500,000 this year for Children with Cancer UK, and they have dozens of runners who will be tuning in, listening to the podcast as they build up for the London Marathon next April.
Fantastic.
I think that is
a great
about
bunch.
all we've got time for. The honours board is, of course, sponsored by High Five. Just a quick reminder that we do have that discount code Paula25 that you can use at on their website, highfive.co.uk, for 25% off all of their goodies. Extra special in the build up to the winter, of course, where we are getting into more of a need for hydration because you are layering up, and be aware of that fluid that you are losing. And as you start your marathon build up, start checking out those different ways to fuel yourself throughout the long runs. Just another quick reminder of that number if you want to get in touch, or indeed for listeners' interaction, which, remember, that drops every Thursday. The number is +44 7564 747 914. The email address is paulasrunclub@momentumbroadcast.co.uk, and you can, of course, get in touch on socials. We haven't had one of those for a while, have we? Through Paula's Run Club, so get in touch that way and let us know. Thank you very, very much for listening. The very best of luck to everybody, but of course to the British team going out there to compete in Portugal at the European Cross Country Championships this weekend. We will be watching, and if you're interested, you can tune in live on BBC to watch as well.
Are you commentating?
I am indeed. I'm just mentioning it just to pick up Crammy. He's actually, you better listen to him because he's really annoyed because Sunderland are playing and it's a big game and he's not able to be there because he's going to be commentating. So
shows how much he loves the sport, though, because he loves his Sunderland.
He does. So yeah, we will be bringing that to you from the delights of Salford. We won't actually be out in Portugal, unfortunately, but looking forward to some great racing there. Thank you very much for listening to the podcast this week. Don't forget, the Shakeout drops on Thursday, and we will see you next week. Bye from us.
See you later, guys.